I beg to move that the Public Audit Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 4 of 2024 be now read a third time. I also request the Honorable Irene Mayaka to second.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I second.
Order. Order, members. Oundo, you better go back to where you normally sit. Honorable members, I now propose the question, which is that the Public Audit Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 4 of 2024, be now read a third time. I now put the question at order number
It was never dispersed to the county as it was supposed to be. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Majority Leader. Try and maintain order in the House. This is your own house.
Of this House has been that usually every budget processing time there was monies that was on
Two members at the back. Kawanjiku, take your seats. Thank you. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 9, which is that this House do agree with the report of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the Public Audit Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 4 of 2024. As members of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Mover.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Public Audit Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 4 of 2024 be now read a third time. I also request the Honorable Irene Mayaka to second.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I second.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this is a short motion that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Orders 28.4 on calendar of the House and 33C hours of meeting, this House resolves to 1. Hold morning sittings on Thursday, 13th March 2025 and Friday, 14th March 2025, commencing at 10 a.m. for purposes of considering priority business relating to the supplementary estimates 2 for the financial year 2024-2025, related legislation and the budget cycle. 2, commence the short recess on Monday, 17th March 2025. And 3, to resume regular sittings on Tuesday, 1st April 2025 to continue with the first part of the 4th session. Honorable Speaker, as was agreed by the House Business Committee with the proposal to have a morning sitting on Thursday morning and Friday morning. And I know, Honorable Speaker, many of our Muslim colleagues are in the fasting season, and also many of our Catholic brothers and sisters, including the Honorable Speaker, in their Lent season. And I know what happens on Fridays with them. So we have sought to have that sitting only on the morning part, from 10 to 1 p.m. to consider the budget, supplementary budget. As members are aware, there are many, many issues, especially relating to exchequer issues that are pending, awaiting the completion or conclusion of the supplementary estimates too. Honorable Speaker, that's why you see very many chairs of committees are not in the House this afternoon, because they are trying to burn the midnight oil even tonight to make sure that they finish with the supplementary appropriations report in readiness for debate of this business as we agreed in the House business this morning on Thursday and Friday. There is some more important business relating to counties, especially on the division of revenue bill, which has to be published and come for first reading, hopefully by Thursday evening or Friday morning. Honorable Speaker, we would have extended the sitting, as I said, on Thursday probably up to the close of business, up to midnight, but we have the iftar dinner, Honorable Speaker, which you are hosting, and have invited all of us to join our Muslim brothers and sisters for the iftar dinner on Thursday. So Thursday evening, we have a very short afternoon, probably just about 2 hours before we adjourn for the iftar dinner hosted by the Speaker, and therefore it will be important to have that extra sitting on Thursday morning and Friday morning. And because the Honorable Wamashukuru and Honorable Wamushomba and Jane Kagiri are making a lot of noise behind me, I do hope that they've heard there will be a sitting on Thursday morning and Friday morning. And therefore, I beg to move and request the Honorable Jack Wamboka to second this motion in agreement on behalf of the Leader of Minority.
The acting Leader of Minority, and in that capacity, Honorable Speaker, I second the motion by my counterpart on the other side.
Order, members. Order. Members on their feet, take your seats. Order member for, is that Barongo? Honorable Barongo, can you walk to the bar? Now take the nearest seat. Junaid, take the nearest seat. Authority should follow you to any seat. Honorable members, I now propose the question at order number 10, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Orders 28(4), calendar of the House, and 33C hours of meeting, this House resolves to 1, hold morning sittings on Thursday, 13th March 2025, and Friday, 14th March 2025, commencing 10 a.m., for purposes of considering priority business relating to supplementary estimates 2 for the financial year 2024-2025 related legislation and the budget cycle. 2, commence the short recess on Monday, 17th March 2025, and 3, resume regular sittings on Tuesday, 1st April 2025, to continue with the first part of the fourth session. I put the question. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 10, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Orders 28(4), calendar of the House, and 33C hours of sitting, this House resolves to 1, hold morning sittings on Thursday, 13th March 2025 and Friday, 14th March 2025, commencing at 10 a.m. for purposes of considering priority business relating to supplementary estimates 2 for the financial year 2024-25, related legislation and the budget cycle. 2, commence a short recess on Monday, 17th March 2025, and 3, resume regular sittings on Tuesday, 1st April 2025, to continue with the first part of the fourth session. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Yes, Honorable Omboko Milemba.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise on a point of order that touches on also a matter that relates to the Constitution on the budget-making process. Honorable Speaker, the practice of this House has been that usually every budget processing time, there was monies that was allocated through public participation to different counties. Honorable Speaker, this chance around was a chance for Vihiga County and other five
Honorable
counties.
Melemba, I've been requested by the majority leader that I stand you down. We clear the short motion at order 11, then I give you the opportunity, if you don't mind. Call order number 11. Just hold your horses.
Order number 11, motion, elections in reconstituted committees.
Majority leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that further to the resolutions of the House of 5th and 6th March 2025 regarding the reconstitution of committees, this House resolves as follows. One, that with respect to departmental committees, where a chairperson or vice chairperson is ordinarily elected for the term of Parliament, the elections will only be undertaken for the positions of chairperson or vice chairperson, which fell vacant as a result of the recent reconstitution of committees, being the following. A, chairpersons for the departmental committees on energy, environment and forestry and mining, health, labor, and trade, industry and cooperatives, and B, the vice chairpersons for the departmental committees on education, lands, regional development, and tourism and wildlife. And two, that with respect to all other select committees which were reconstituted pursuant to the standing orders and whose leadership also lapsed at the commencement of this session, elections for all chairpersons and vice chairpersons will be undertaken for the respective vacant positions as per the schedule circulated by the clerk on the 6th of March 2025. Honorable Speaker, the import of this motion is to allow the House to elect chairs and vice chairs for the 18 committees, select committees whose term had lapsed. And therefore, since the term had lapsed, they had no chairs and vice chairs, and they are naturally going to hold elections to elect their chairs and vice chairs. Two is to limit our elections of departmental committees to only the chairs and vice chairs who were affected by the reconstitution of committees, because they are chairs, for instance, of the Committee of Forestry, Energy, Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, whose chairs were able to be moved from one committee to the other, and therefore those committees do not have substantive chairs. The same with the departmental committees on tourism and wildlife, regional development, education and lands. The vice chairs again were moved, and therefore they will be expected to hold elections for those vice chairs. And the import of that for all the other chairs is that, and vice chairs, is that we shall not have elections for all the other chairs and vice chairs. Honorable Speaker, I heard you asking the Honorable Udo to go back to his usual seat. And it is only Honorable Udo and members of the Public Accounts Committee who would understand why the Honorable Udo had to move from one point to the other, because I have seen his form somewhere. And there's a lot of lobbying, jostling for these positions. Therefore, we want to make sure that for orderly conduct of business, because we're also in a very important season, the budget making process. For instance, as I mentioned today, the liaison committee that has all chairs is sitting now, even as we sit here. And therefore, we do not want to disrupt them with elections, and they have a lot of work ongoing, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, beg to move, as we agreed in the House Business Committee, to this motion that we move. I beg to move and request the Leader of Minority, the Honorable Junet Mohammed, to second in agreement.
Honorable Junet, disband that Kamkunji and...
I know the Honorable Katan. I was asking the Leader of Minority to second, and the Honorable Katana is distracting him. And you know, before the Honorable Junet walked in, and I know he was in a meeting in his office with members of his coalition, the Honorable Amboka was seated where he seated, And when I requested him to second on behalf of the leader of minority, he purported to be the acting leader of minority. And that is why you saw the Honorable Junet walking very fast, because there cannot be an acting leader of minority. The leader of minority is present, and I invite him to second this motion in agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand to second the motion as moved by the majority leader. Having said, Mr. Speaker, I'm shocked that Honorable Wampoka was masquerading as a minority leader, Mr. Speaker, in the House, Mr. Speaker, in my absence. Mr. Speaker, that is very dangerous and bad manners, Mr. Speaker. It's treasonous, Mr. Speaker, because this is the man who has just come to Parliament the other day. I was showing him where washrooms are, where, food is taken. Mr. Speaker, I've taken him around everywhere, but now he's masquerading. Mr. Speaker, I'm really shocked, but I will deal with him in accordance with the standing orders. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I start to second, and what the majority leader has moved is that, there are committees that their term has lapsed. The select committees, budget committee, PIC, PAC, and other things. But there are committees also, Mr. Speaker, whose terms have not lapsed. So there was a kind of agitation in the House that people want to contest for all committees when they are chairs who are chairmen or chairpersons who are in office legally. Mr. Speaker, what we are having now is just a mini election. The general election is coming ahead of us. So hold your horse. This is just a small election or a mini election and midterm elections. But the real election is ahead of us. So those committees, the standing order is very clear. There are committees that were supposed to serve for 2 years. Their term has lapsed. But the committees that were supposed to serve for full term, those ones cannot be subjected to an election. Their term will lapse at that time when the 5-year period ends, Mr. Speaker. So that is the clarification this motion of the majority leader is making, Mr. Speaker. Because I have seen chairs who are under threat. Now the chair of Transport Committee, people are campaigning for it. I was wondering when has his term ended. The man even looked malnourished today if you look at him, Mr. Speaker. He's really worried, Mr. Speaker. So this motion is going to protect him. This motion is going to defend him. So with those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I second.
Honourable members, I now propose the question at order number 11, which is that further, the resolutions of the House of 5th and 6th March 2025 regarding the reconstitution of committees, this House resolves as follows. 1, that with respect to departmental committees where a chairperson or vice chairperson is ordinarily elected for the term of Parliament, the elections will only be undertaken for the positions of chairperson or vice chairperson which fell vacant as a result of the recent reconstitution of committees, being the following. A, chairpersons for the departmental committees on energy, environment, forestry and mining, health, labor, trade, industry and cooperatives, and B, vice chairpersons for the departmental committees on education, lands, regional development, and tourism and wildlife. 2, that with respect to all other select committees which were reconstituted pursuant to the standing orders and whose leadership also lapsed at the commencement of this session, elections for all chairpersons and vice chairpersons will be undertaken for the respective vacant positions as per the schedule circulated by the clerk on 6th March 2025. I put the question. Honourable members, I now put the question and order number 11, which is that further the resolutions of the House of 5th and 6th March 2025 regarding the reconstitution of committees, this House resolves as follows. 1, that with respect to departmental committees where a chairperson or vice chairperson is ordinarily elected for the term of Parliament, the elections will only be undertaken for the positions of chairperson or vice chairperson which fell vacant as a result of the recent reconstitution of committees, being the following. A, chairpersons for the departmental committees on energy, environment, forestry and mining, health, labor, trade, industry and cooperatives, and B, vice chairpersons for the departmental committees on education, lands, regional development, tourism and wildlife. And 2, that with respect to all other select committees which were reconstituted pursuant to the standing orders and whose leadership also lapsed at the commencement of this session, elections for all chairpersons and vice chairpersons will be undertaken for the respective vacant positions as per the schedule circulated by the clerk on 6th March 2025. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next. Now, Milemba.
Honorable Speaker.
You can start afresh.
I will come in a different style now, Honorable Speaker. Matters related to budget making are expressly documented in the Constitution. And in particular, matters relating to public participation are equally touched in the Constitution in Section 221, Section 5 of 221, which indicates that in discussing and reviewing the estimates, the committee shall seek representations from the public, and the recommendations shall be taken into account when the committee makes its recommendations to the National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, that has been the practice of this House, that in every budget-making process, usually the budget committee will move around in 5 or so counties and pick public participation. And usually they are allocated about 2 billion to every county or 5 counties where the public participation has been done. Honorable Speaker, during this session of Parliament, that has happened and about 21 counties have benefited. But in the last year's public participation, Vihiga, among other counties, had their chance for public participation. It was insinuated that this public participation would continue and all the counties would benefit. But following what happened in the budget committee, and possibly that's why we have changed, or you are changing the leadership of the budget committee, which misused the clause of public participation and actually abused it by increasing that figure from 2 billion to over hundreds of billions. A guillotine, Honorable Speaker, was placed on public participation, and which has disadvantaged Vihiga as a county plus other counties, which if they are here, they should speak on this. And the monies that otherwise were put in public participation genuinely, not these other monies that is an addition that is not known where it's going to, where you will find that one constituency is having monies up to 1 billion for public participation. No, Honorable Speaker, that was not part of the real public participation that was instrumented in the Constitution. And therefore, our county, Vihiga, has lost all the roads, all the schools, all the monies that were otherwise allocated to that particular county because of public participation. I want you, Honorable Speaker, please, to beseech the committee that is now looking at the budget afresh in the supplementary one, so that they may bring back the monies that are genuinely placed for public participation, and which is not the extras that was put there by those who were in power that particular time and ended up misusing that clause so as for the constituencies and the counties that were supposed to get these monies genuinely to lose the money. And finally, this should be a caution to those who are coming into these committees, that a very good thing and practice by this House can be rendered useless if it is abused by those who are put in positions as chairmen of committees. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Maungu. Maungu. 2 minutes.
Thank you, Speaker. Allow me to ride on what my neighbor and brother Omboko Milemba has just raised with regard to funds initially allocated to public participation, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, for a long time, counties have benefited significantly as a result of funds set aside through public participation kitty. And for the first time, Vihiga was catered for in this financial year, Mr. Speaker. And Speaker, during the public hearings, I did participate in one of those meetings, and it was important that we bring projects that we felt as a people were important to our respective constituencies of the county. And it's unfortunate that whatever happened in June, whereby the uprising of the Gen Zs saw this kitty slashed off, Mr. Speaker. But the challenge came where the funds, where the money that had been allocated was increased to a level whereby it was actually felt that some counties are going to benefit more than other counties, Mr. Speaker. I want to join my brother and actually request that the liaison committee that is looking at the public participation should not just brush off that figure, Mr. Speaker, because for the first time, Vihiga was going to benefit. And having it deleted, Mr. Speaker, will actually see our people and the great people of Vihiga omitted from this important kitty, which is supposed to bring equity. I therefore want to join my brother in saying that, Mr. Speaker, we need your indulgence on this matter. Thank you.
Wangwe.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, within the reading of the Constitution, Article 221, as read to us by the Honorable Omboko Milemba, this will also disadvantage Kakamega as a county, Honorable Speaker. And in your ruling, Honorable Speaker, please consider that also the same amount which was supposed to benefit the county of Kakamega in its entirety was also not dispersed as per the voting of the House. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, despite the fact that we voted for it, it was never dispersed to the county as it was supposed to be. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Majority Leader. Try and maintain order in the House. This is your own House. You don't have to be called upon by the Speaker to maintain order. And I want to repeat, those who want to have conversations, we have a beautiful lounge out there near the reception. I have also allowed you to use the Speaker's recess room behind the chair for you to have conversations as you wish. Let's have some decorum in the House at least, so that those who are on their feet can be heard and those who are seated can listen. I know many members here who are interested in listening to what is going on. I also know a few who are not interested in whatever is going on in the House. Let's focus on the business of the House. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I hope I will be speaking to those who are interested in the business of the House. And you know, Honorable Speaker, it's true what you said, because the business of this House is the business of the people who have given us the greatest honor above very many other people to come and represent them in the National Assembly. And the issues you hear the Honorable Omboko raise are indeed pertinent issues in line with Article 201 of our Constitution on the cardinal place public participation should play in all our legislative processes and even decisions in the executive. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I want to agree with the Honorable Omboko. It is true the public participation process in the budget making process has been abused, grossly abused. And as Honorable Omboko says, that is why you find in a situation where 2 billion shillings was set aside for public participation, those who sat in the budget committee found it prudent or imprudent, whatever the case may be, to put an additional 10 billion shillings. But what is more worrying, Honorable Speaker, is that if the entire 12 billion shillings went to the counties that were slated in for the public participation exercise, then there will be no problem. The problem has come because it is people who have vested interest in those committees where they sit in that then use that opportunity to put projects in their own constituencies and counties far from what was intended by the public participation, Honorable Speaker. And I say this with immense respect to those who sit in the Budget and Appropriations Committee, because it is a committee that I have chaired before in this House. And the tradition that we had set right from the 11th Parliament when the new Constitution came into being is that money would be set aside for public participation, and over a period of 4 years, we would cover all counties in the country. And it is sad that some counties like Vihiga and the other 10 counties that were slated for benefit of these monies now lose out because of what is otherwise bad manners by ourselves, those who sat in the Budget and Appropriations Committee. And I say this, Speaker, because we have now reconstituted a new budget and appropriations committee. Let me be on record, it will not be business as usual. This House will not sit back and allow members who sit in the Budget and Appropriations Committee to use the position they hold in that committee to appropriate money to only their constituencies at the expense of other Kenyans. Because all these 349 members come here to represent people. They come here to seek and lobby for resources to go back to their people. That is why the people of Vihiga are crying today. It is sad that you would find in a county that was to benefit from public participation, a national polytechnic in a county that was slated to benefit for public participation, getting a meager 10 million shillings, whereas in another county where a member in the Budget and Appropriations Committee sits in, a national polytechnic gets 250 million shillings. It is immoral. It is unethical and very unprofessional of us who sit in those committees. And I say it will not be business as usual because we have agreed as the House leadership, both in the majority and the minority party, that those who get the opportunity to sit in whichever committee you sit in that committee to ensure that there is equitable allocation and share of resources across the country. And we will make sure that that happens. I therefore wanted to urge the Honorable Omboko and the other members who are affected. I will engage with the National Treasury to ensure that those counties do not lose on account of the actions of the former Committee of Budget and Appropriations, so that within the next financial year, because they are now preparing the estimates for the next financial year, we factor in those counties that should have benefited this year and those that ought to benefit next year. But let this serve as a warning bell to the new committee. I know the committees are slated to hold their elections tomorrow. Whoever you elect in those committees, especially the Budget and Appropriations Committee, because it is one of the 18 committees whose mandate lapsed, and there are new members in that committee. An opportunity to serve in the Budget and Appropriations Committee of this House is not an opportunity to enrich yourself. It is not an opportunity to allocate resources to your constituency or your county or to those who you think are your friends above others. You must ensure, as members of that committee, there is equitable and fair distribution of resources, not just those in public participation. The reason why the Budget and Appropriations Committee has been elevated in our standing orders to be a committee that's all of you to be on the lookout. And we call out each other, because that is the only way we can be able to hold each other to account, for us to be able to hold those in the executive to account. Because even those in the executive, it doesn't mean because you are a cabinet secretary, for instance, for roads or water or energy, that all projects should go to your home county. There must be equitable and fair allocation and share of resources in this country, and that is the spirit that we want to go ahead. Therefore, let me assure Honorable Omboko Milemba, I will pick up that matter with the National Treasury to ensure that none of the counties lose out, but also to tell members of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, whichever leaders you elect when you go to elections tomorrow, I pray that you will do what is just, what is right, and what is accountable by your own standards and by our own standards as a House. That public participation allocation was meant as seed capital. When you go out and listen to Kenyans, they tell you this national polytechnic in this county has 20 or 10,000 students. They have hostels that accommodate only 1,000 students. You know, 2 billion shillings might not even be enough maybe to build hostels in that one particular institution. But you put in seed capital, which informs the next budget-making process. Therefore, if, for instance, the Honorable Omboko's constituency in Vihiga, they had a road that was identified as a critical link between his constituency and the county of Kisumu, or another neighboring county, and the members of the Budget and Appropriations feel that that road is such a critical link, then they put maybe 50 million shillings or 20 million shillings as seed capital so that they get a budget line that will be added onto in the subsequent financial year's budget. Now, this year they should have benefited to add, but public participation should not be an end by itself. Or you allocate, probably you find a school where they have no classrooms, children, you go to Turkana or maybe to somewhere and find children, especially or Baringo, where people had been displaced by bandits, classrooms were demolished or burnt down, and you find you can allocate 10 million shillings and give a school money to allow children to go to schools. That was the essence of public participation, but not the kind of abuse that we have seen in the last 2 years. And Honorable Speaker, I want to commit on behalf of the House leadership, in the majority, on the minority side, that we shall make sure it no longer happens in this House. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Jeanette.
Speaker, I don't have much to add to what the majority leader said, but suffice to say, Mr. Speaker, that the matter that has been raised by Honorable Milema Mr. Speaker, you remember this House never used to have the powers to look into the budget of the country. The new constitution gave us those powers, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, what has been happening the last 2 years in the Budget and Appropriation Committee of this House, Mr. Speaker, borders criminality. If we lay bare, Mr. Speaker, those things, as has been discussed in the retreat we had of the leadership in Naivasha and also in the House Business Committee, Mr. Speaker, those issues, those atrocities, Mr. Speaker, cannot be shied away from talking about, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, how on earth can one county have an allocation, budget allocation of 12 billion shillings and a whole region has 60 million shillings, Mr. Speaker? What kind of country are we living in? Mr. Speaker, the Budget and Appropriation Committee went around the country to do public participation. And they ended up agreeing that they are going to use 2 billion shillings to allocate to those counties that they have visited, Mr. Speaker. That amount ended up ballooning to 12 billion shillings, Mr. Speaker. And the beneficiary of that 12 billion shillings is not those counties that public participation was done on, Mr. Speaker. It is other counties and other constituencies, Mr. Speaker. The Budget and Appropriation Committee of this House has reached to the level where the chair of that committee, Mr. Speaker, now, members of Parliament are going to his constituency for benchmarking, Mr. Speaker. Benchmarking. And all of us are supposed to receive the same amount of CDA, NGD, Mr. Speaker. What is making our members to go and benchmark in a colleague's constituency, Mr. Speaker? Because the colleague is receiving more funding because of him being the chairman of the budget committee. Let's be honest to Kenyans. Let's tell Kenyans the truth, that he was sitting in an advantageous position of chairing that powerful committee of the House, which you could do skewed allocation of resources to his constituents, Mr. Speaker. Otherwise, which member of Parliament here can afford, through his NGCDF, to build classrooms, plaster them, put windows, put roof, put tiles in the classroom, cabros in the... Mr. Speaker, which member of Parliament can afford to do that here? With a mere resources of 100 million shillings, Mr. Speaker, and advertise on Citizen Primetime News. Which member can do it? Can you raise up your hand if you can do that? None of the 349 members of this House, Mr. Speaker, can afford to do that. That can only be done by somebody who has access to bigger resources than any other member, Mr. Speaker. The Budget and Appropriation Committee did not start the other day. The distinguished leader of the majority party, Mr. Speaker, has been the chair of that committee for many years. And he has never done those things. I have been with him in this House. He has been very careful and he has shared the resources of the country equitably, Mr. Speaker. I can say that without any fear of contradiction. Mr. Speaker, I want to remind members of this House, for those of us who have been here that time, who have been here for long, when the budget committee was chaired by Honorable, what was his name? The member of parliament from Embu, Mbere, the Reverend Mutava Musimi, Mr. Speaker. Members of that committee did the same thing they have done the last 2 years. And one afternoon, the late Honorable Jacoyo Bidiwo came to the House, and he was seated exactly where I'm sitting today, and told the House the amount of money the budget committee put for themselves in the budget, Mr. Speaker. And the whole committee, that time, the membership of the budget committee was 52 or 51? 51. The whole committee was dissolved. And a new committee was formed, Mr. Speaker, based on what Honorable Jacoyo presented to the House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if the budget committee does its business the way that the defunct committee has done, Mr. Speaker, the only option, the only solution, Mr. Speaker, that's available for this House is to convert the 349 members of this House into a budget committee. The whole House becomes a committee of the budget, Mr. Speaker. But as leadership and as parties, we have given responsibility and priorities to certain members. And especially on our side, and I'm sure even on Kenya Kwanza's side, we have picked one member per county from different regions and different counties, so that they can represent the interest of those regions and those counties and those constituencies. But Mr. Speaker, it looks like the committee now sits down and agrees on how to share the resources among themselves, forgetting that they are representing Kenyans and they are representing the whole House, Mr. Speaker, in that committee. As the majority leader has said, we will not desist, we will not hesitate to remove any member who behaves like the defunct committee, Mr. Speaker. I know there are remnants who have remained in that committee from the previous committee. I don't want to mention their names. We are giving them a warning that if you are not going to share the resources of the country equitably, Mr. Speaker, we will de-whip them. And we will discharge them from the committee, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I saw, I don't want to mention names, an old man who has started a polytechnic which has 10,000 people. And he talked about his polytechnic very passionately. And he said he's requesting the executive to give resources to that polytechnic. And the polytechnic has 10,000 students. Mr. Speaker, in their wisdom of lack of it, through the chair of the committee and the committee, gave that polytechnic in Bungoma 25 million shillings and gave another one in another place 250 million, which has only 2,000 students. Was it 10 million? Yeah. They gave only 10 million there, and the other one they gave 250 million shillings, Mr. Speaker. We are going to name them. Mr. Speaker, we will not allow, because this is the House that takes care of the interest of the people, of what is concerned to the people, is discussed here, Mr. Speaker. And this matter of skewed distribution of resources, Mr. Speaker, look at what's happening in the road sector, Mr. Speaker. It's shameful. In the road sector, Mr. Speaker, there are counties that have not seen any cent to tarmac any road, Mr. Speaker. And there are counties that have been having money every year, every month to tarmac certain roads. In fact, very soon, if we continue like this in the next 5 years, there are counties that will donate tarmac roads to others. They will say, take this tarmac and put it somewhere in your county. You can return it back after 2 years. Just use it for 2 years. Because they don't know where to put it actually. Mr. Speaker, I support the majority leader. This country can only prosper. This country can only go far if, as the representatives of the people, we become equitable in sharing our resources, Mr. Speaker. And that is why the Constitution gave us a mandate to look. Otherwise, the Treasury should bring a budget here and we just approve it as they have done. Because the previous Treasury, the previous Ministry of Finance under the previous regimes used to do very dangerous things in terms of sharing of resources of the country. That is why the new Constitution and the framers of this Constitution felt it fit to bring that mandate to the House. And now we want to allow that mandate to be abused in the House, Mr. Speaker. That will not happen. It will not happen over our dead body. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I tell Honorable Milemba, we will stand with you and we will make sure the people of Vihiga get their rightful share of the budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, members. Your leaders have spoken. I just want to advise the House that the Holy Book says For everything you do to others,
get their rightful share.
I just want to advise the House that the Holy Book says, for everything you do to others, expect it to be done to you. For everything you do to others, expect it to be done to you. If you feel it's happy and fair, then it is good. And this constitution, like Ichungwa said without referring to it, the centrality of this new constitution is equity, fairness, and justice. And for all of you who have been given the privilege to serve in committees, you are public trustees. You don't represent yourselves. You represent the country. Because if members of a committee of privilege only work for themselves, how will a member who serves on the library committee ever do anything for their constituencies? So I want to encourage you, and majority and minority leader, please exercise your duties, your responsibilities to ensure that this democratically elected House discharges its duties and responsibilities to the satisfaction of every Kenyan in every part of the country. That a person in Mandera, a person in Vanga, a person in Lokitang, a person in Malaba does not sit in this House to get fairness, because we all have a duty to discharge fairly. So Omboko Milemba, thank you for bringing that point. And majority minority leader, as you have assured the House, move and correct that anomaly so that we have fairness. Those serving in the Finance Committee, I sit in my office and almost everybody wants to serve on that committee. Now I understand why. The Budget Committee, sorry. Everybody wants to serve on the Budget Committee. Now I fully understand why. Budget Committee. Not Finance, Budget. So those who serve in the Budget Committee, you are the trustees of public good. So as everybody else. Whether it's transport, whether it's energy. I get a lot of information. I just encourage you. Many of you are doing your second term, first term, a few doing third term. If you have to live longer, be fair. If you have to live longer, be just. And be equitable in everything you do. Thank you. Farah Malim. Yes, who is calling the speaker? Donya, on the same issue? That one is closed. What is it?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You've guided us that now that our leaders have spoken, it's good to always give the people's leaders to echo their points. Sometimes they can miss something, Honorable Speaker, because they don't carry our heads. Thank you. We echo what they say.
Thank you, Honorable Donya. That is why they are leaders. They carry your interests at all times. Honorable members in the Speaker's gallery, allow me to acknowledge Katunguru Secondary School from Mavioya, Muranga, Gatero Girls High School from Laikipia West, Laikipia. In the public gallery, Kianyaga High School from Gishugu, Kirinyaga, Makongeni Secondary School from Makadara, Nairobi, Bahati Community Center School from Embakasi East, Nairobi, Miumbuni AIC School from Kadhiani, Machakos. On my behalf and on behalf of the House, we welcome the students and their teachers to the House of Parliament. Next order. Sorry, Farah Malim, 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for giving me this opportunity. I rise to address the nation and Parliament, or National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, after the defunding of all UN organizations by the Trump administration, I am an MP in an area where we host 2 refugee camps, the Dadaab refugee camp or the Dadaab complex, and Hagadera. Mr. Speaker, it is so dire in the refugee camps right now in this month of Ramadan that the refugees are getting less than 20% of the ration they used to get before. So we have a disaster. We have a famine in the refugee camps. We have starvation in the refugee camps. I'm calling on the government, our own government, good government, and all other well-wishers in this case, businessmen and individuals, to help the refugees who are in our country today so that they are able to get a balanced diet in this month of Ramadan. Mr. Speaker, I particularly call upon the Department of Special Programs to deal with this thing. Otherwise, we are watching starvation in the eyes. Even water, even basic medical services, all those UN agencies that have been defunded are not executing the programs or the specialities that they used to execute before, particularly a body like the World Food Program. So, Mr. Speaker, I call upon all our government and all other governments also to come to the assistance of the 600,000 refugees that we have in the Dadaab complex and an additional almost 200,000 refugees in Kakuma complex. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Farah Maalim. Majority Leader has heard. He will communicate to the national government. Next order.
Order number 12, the County Government's Additional Allocation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 2 of 2025, second reading.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the County Government Additional Allocations Bill, National Assembly Bill number 2 of 2025, be now read a second time. Honorable Speaker, this bill, we are publishing it, we publish it for the second time, Honorable Speaker, following the lapse of the mediation process on the bill that we had published last year. Honorable Speaker, you know, this additional county allocations bill has additional allocations that go to the county governments above what we share on the, or rather in the Division of Revenue bill. And the schedules, Honorable Speaker, that are attached to this bill, about 3 schedules, and the first one shows conditional or has conditional allocations to counties from our national government revenues, such as the KIPES money that the national government gives to counties, and other conditional allocations. And many members, you remember even the 11 counties that have over the last few years benefited from monies that come as conditional grants to help them build and complete their county headquarters. And that is the first schedule that details all the additional conditional allocations. Then there is a second schedule, Honorable Speaker, that has unconditional allocations to counties from especially monies that come from court fines collected by the judiciary, from contraventions of the county government's legislations, because, Honorable Speaker, many people are taken to court and levied fines and penalties for having contravened county government legislative proposals or legislations or bylaws in our towns and elsewhere, Honorable Speaker. And this money is then shared between the judiciary and our county governments, since it is their laws that were contravened. And those now come as unconditional allocations. The third schedule contains conditional allocations from proceeds of loans and grants from development partners. Honorable Speaker, many of these loans and grants touch on very sensitive areas of our national resources management. And if you look at the schedule, Honorable Speaker, you see money from IDA on water and sanitation that touch on healthcare. You see money that goes to the Kenya Urban Support Program on urban development grants, grants that have transformed in a great manner many of our towns, including my own town in Kikuyu. Kikuyu town was transformed through allocations by the World Bank program under the Kenya Urban Support Program. There's a KISIP the Kenya Informal Settlement Improvement Project that has benefited many people, especially those in urban areas where there are informal settlements, and they have benefited immensely from these allocations, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, sad, Honorable Speaker, that last year we lost the opportunity to pass this bill, because when we published this bill and it went to the other house, they included the road maintenance levy fund an amount of about 10 billion shillings in this bill and amended. And when we disagreed with them, Honorable Speaker, we went into a mediation process that then lapsed at the end of the last financial year. The import of that lapse, Honorable Speaker, is that our counties continue to lose. And when our county governments are losing, Honorable Speaker, our constituents are losing. It is our own constituents who can benefit from this water for sanitation. And either the IDA projects or monies that are going to finance locally led climate action programs that are also coming from IDA, food system resilience programs. There is a National Agricultural Value Chain Development Project that has an amount of almost 5 billion shillings that should be going to our counties, Honorable Speaker. And I gave the case example last week of a county where they are saying they are losing money under these IDA projects.
Order, members. Leader, 1 minute. Order, members. Honorable members. Order. Order, Honorable Soro and team. Please. Order there. Honorable Wangwe. Please, let's consult in low tone, because the matter being moved by the leader is an important matter that affects our counties. You may proceed.
Honorable Speaker, I was giving the case example of a county that I don't want to name, where we are being told because of the impasse on the RMLF and this bill that came out of the RMLF and moved on to this additional county allocations bill. A county governor was telling me they are losing 1.1 billion shillings that should be going to water and sanitation and health programs because of 173 million shillings that should be going to RMLF. And that is the case across the country, not just that one county, which I take the liberty not to name, Honorable Speaker, so that I don't expose that governor to their colleagues in the Council of Governors. And I'm saying that, Honorable Speaker, because I really want to plead with the Council of Governors and the Senate to allow this bill to pass as published. Because we are in the last 2-3 months to the end of this financial year. It is sad that 3 months to the end of the financial year, we are yet to finalize with these additional county allocations. And as I was saying, the loss is not to the National Treasury. The loss is not to the National Assembly. The loss is not to the Senate or to the Council of Governors. The loss is to the people of Kenya who cannot access funds, Honorable Speaker, going into their healthcare programs, funds going into water and sanitation, funds going to improve infrastructure under the KUSIP and KISIP programs. And I know there are many counties, Honorable Speaker, including my own county of Kiambu, where we had roads. For instance, my road in a place called Ondire, and another one that goes from Renguti through Kanyayo to join the Ondire Makaresha Road, that were to be done under the KUSIP funds. But they cannot be done because of this grandstanding in pursuit of just 10 billion shillings, while we have other billions that are being held in this bill. And therefore want to implore on the Senate and our Council of Governors to allow this bill to be approved by this House and the other House to give them additional allocations over and above the division of revenue. We'll be publishing before the end of this week the division of revenue bill for the financial year 2025-2026. But how sad that we are publishing another division of revenue bill and subsequently another additional allocations bill for the next financial year, where we are here to finalize with the one for this current financial year. Therefore, I want to urge members to support and plead with the other House not to wait for this bill to go to them and they amend to bring in again the RMLF funds, because they know the challenge that is the RMLF or the fuel levy funds. They know the challenge that they will encounter in this house. And therefore, it is punishing counties and punishing our own constituents if they disagree. And therefore, as I move, I want to request that the other house that when we approve this bill, and I do hope that we'll be able to approve it, hopefully before we proceed on the short recess or immediately after, that we allow counties, Honorable Speaker, to access these monies. If I look through this bill, Honorable Speaker, I see a total of, especially on the county aggregation industrial parks, and I saw His Excellency the President inspecting the one in Busia, and beautiful work ongoing. Many other counties, including the county of Kiambu, Kirinyaga, Kwale, Machakos, Meru, Migori, Mombasa, Muranga, Nakuru, Nandi, Nyamira, Siaya, Trans Nzoia, Uasin Gishu. They ought to be benefiting, plus many others, at least 19 counties. Each county is slated to receive 105.3 million for the county aggregation and industrial parks. These county aggregation and industrial parks are not just creating opportunities for our farmers and our business people to get a place where they can carry on their trade, but it's also creating opportunities, employment opportunities for people in our counties, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, every minute that we lose, we are losing job opportunities. We are losing opportunities for these 19 counties to access this money, Honorable Speaker. If you look at the community health promoters money, Honorable Speaker, it's also in this bill. Part of what was envisaged under the health laws that we passed was that the national government, together with the county governments, would put resources together to pay stipends to our community health promoters to help in the actualization of the universal health coverage dream, Honorable Speaker, which is now a reality under the Social Health Insurance Fund. But it cannot succeed if we are not adequately resourcing our community health promoters. Their money is in this bill. Therefore, I urge our colleagues in the other house again to help. There are also salary arrears, Honorable Speaker, for county government health workers. Following the return of the return to work formula that was agreed on between the Health Workers Association and the governments, the national government committed to provide the first phase of the bargain in the 2024-2025 financial year, amounting to 1.759 billion. And the bill contains a similar provision towards settlement of the salary arrears of the health workers in the counties as per the number of doctors in a county. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, you've seen our health workers threatening to go on strike because of these arrears from the collective bargaining agreements, and this money is in this bill. I'm only mentioning these things, Honorable Speaker, for everybody to bear the weight of the importance of this bill and why we do not need to fight between us, the Senate, and the Council of Governors on the enactment of this bill. And I really want to plead with them, and this opportunity to plead with them, to allow this bill to pass as published so that these counties can access these monies and our people benefit, Honorable Speaker. With those very many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move and request the Honorable Jematia, who is a member of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, what the Honorable Junaid Mohammed called among the remnants that are remaining in that committee, because they considered this bill to second this bill, and I beg to move, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Jematia.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. And I must say, it is not very palatable now to be a member of a budget committee, but I think we did our best. Also to say, the work of budget committee is not done by members only. It is done by departmental and all of us.
Honorable Jematia, you are getting out of order.
Thank you.
Proceed to second.
And as I second this bill, which is very timely, Mr. Speaker, I also want to reiterate what the leader of majority have told us, that it is key that we pass this bill at this time because it's a very timely bill. And Mr. Speaker, I must also say, I don't envy being a governor in Kenya today because of the things, most of the problems, monetary problems that they go through. And if you see and look at the activities that is happening in the counties, the biggest problem in the counties is lack of funds. And this bill is going to enable governors dispatch and do their work comfortably, and specifically on matters grants, on matters universal health coverage, and even the aggregation of industrial parks that has been launched several times by the head of state and the wishes of the people of these counties. Mr. Speaker, this additional funds is going to take this country through the counties in a very positive way. And I only hope that the governors are going to be better managers and make sure these monies are not lost along the way through corruption, embezzlement, and privileges, so that we are able to build this country and embrace our other level of governance, that is the counties, and devolution, and enable Kenyans to get better services through this money. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And you beg to give her the mic?
And I beg to support. Thank you. 2 seconds, sorry. 2 seconds.
Thank you, honorable members. Honorable members, order. Honorable members, I now propose the question that the county government's additional allocations bill, National Assembly Bill number 2 of 2025, be now read a second time. We have on my screen here, number 1, Joshua Mwalio. And number 2, Wilberforce Oundo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Allow me to stand here and support the County Government Additional Allocation Bill, Bill number 2 of 2025. Honorable Speaker, the essence of devolution was to disperse funds to the rural areas, to get funds from the center so they can go to the periphery. Honorable Speaker, the idea was equity, because in many days during KANU's days, whenever you never used to vote for KANU or for President Moi, your area will be starved of development. You will be told, hakuna pesa, hakuna pesa, hakuna pesa, hakuna pesa. And Honorable Speaker, I remember when they wanted you to vote for them, for KANU in a by-election, they will bring electricity poles, sprinkle them around. If the elections don't go the right way, the poles are carried away, like happened in Kipipiri, I think 1993 or 1994. It's the wisdom of Baba Raila Amolo Odinga, who has fought relentlessly for devolution, that now we have a situation where at least some substantial amount of money goes to the counties every single year, regardless of their political inclination. And for this, all Kenyans will be forever be grateful to the magnanimity, resiliency, and the ability to struggle for the common people of Kenya in the name of Raila Amolo Odinga. Honorable Speaker, when we undertook the new constitution of 2010, it obviously became at every budgeting point there are residual funds that remain in the national government. And that residual funds, it therefore means they must be disbursed to the counties. It's the wisdom of this House that we came up that we have an annual additional county allocation bill each year to look at the services that ought to be devolved, that have retained to the national level, to look at what are areas of collaboration, so that as we collaborate between the national level and the county government, then funds follow functions. It's on that score, Honorable Speaker, that we are here today. Honorable Speaker, in totality, Honorable Speaker, the county governments are getting a substantial amount of money in additional allocation. And this, Honorable Speaker, goes towards, first of all, CAIP, that's County Aggregation Industrial Park. There's go to community health promoters. We go to basic salary arrears for county health workers. Honorable Speaker, we go to the issue of court fines that are also being given to the counties. Honorable Speaker, we go to the loans and grants that are also being given to the counties and shared and guaranteed by the national government. What are we saying, Honorable Speaker? We are saying, in addition to the equitable share, they are going to get 410. There is additional funds. Honorable Speaker, unfortunately, we are only 3 weeks or 3 months to the end of the financial year. We are here where we are because of the intransigent behavior of the Senate and the big-headed behavior of the Council of Governors. If we had resolved this thing much, much earlier, the funds will be ready in the counties to undertake the relevant functions. Honorable Speaker, we like it or not, between now and the end of the year, financial year, it's very unlikely, Honorable Speaker, that a number of these funds, this allocation meant for physical projects will be absorbed. Very unlikely. The 10 billion or so, 10 billion or so, is unlikely to be absorbed. What the governors will do, will park the money in their accounts. As the control of budgets always says, they have a spent amount of money. So, Honorable Speaker, we do expect by the end of, once the disbursement has gone through, once Senate has passed as it is, and the disbursement have gone through, Honorable Speaker, we expect our health workers, the community health promoters, ought to be paid their salary arrears that some have been running for several months, because that's the anchor of universal health care. Without health promoters, then we have really nothing on it. Honorable Speaker, we also want to bring to the attention to the counties that the loans and the grants that we are being shared to the counties, this is public debt. And public debt invariably must be used for the purposes that was meant for. Remember, we continue to saddle the people of Kenya with additional debts. We must therefore, at all, whatever it happens, we must get it done in the right way. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, is related to this matter. Let me take this opportunity to thank the Cabinet of Kenya for approving the elevation of Bumbe TTI to be a national polytechnic. Honorable Speaker, I remember nostalgia. In 1977 or 78, as a small boy, lining up on the road with a miniature can flag and national flag, singing good songs, to patriotic song, to the then Vice President Moi, when he was driving all the way to go and launch as a youth polytechnic, 1970-something. Honorable Speaker, because of geopolitics and because they hated some of us, we have been requesting this oldest polytechnic to be elevated national polytechnic. We have always been given a wide berth. But today, somehow, by the miracle of God, we have now a national polytechnic. And I urge you, Honorable Speaker, to continue praying for people of Busia, because many times we are ignored. Nothing ever good comes to our place. Even when they are sharing things in this place, you never hear anybody from Busia being mentioned anywhere. Even the little that we have is normally taken away. With those very many marks, Honorable Speaker, I support.
Very well, Honorable Undo, but Busia has had two finance ministers. You remember Honorable Kemo and Masahalia. Anyway, that's a discussion for another day. The Honorable Francis Igay. You are on my list here. If you are not ready to speak on this, the Honorable Richard Yegon. Is Richard Yegon in the house? Okay. Those who want to speak on this, could you put interventions? Yes, Ferdinand Wanyonyi.
Thank you, Speaker, for giving me this chance to support wholeheartedly this additional fund. I think, the Speaker, this is very, very important additional fund because, one, I want this, as mentioned by the Speaker, by the Majority Leader, to be passed as soon as possible, because out there, I am coming from Trans Nzoia, and Trans Nzoia is actually mentioned in this particular bill, and I want it to be passed as soon as possible because quite a number of things are outstanding, and they actually, it can't move. One is that it has been very difficult for the counties to account for some of the money that actually were given. But more so, Mr. Speaker, I've also realized that in my county, there are projects, very serious projects, that are standstill because there's no additional money. One is, I think, the market. We have a market that actually still not, nothing's moving, but I think this additional money will be able to assist the market to actually be completed. And of course, as mentioned by the mover of this particular bill, one is that we'll be creating jobs, both for Mama Mboga and other people that to be able to access this marketplace so that it can be able to create jobs, both for our mothers out here, our sisters out there, and of course the youth. And as it said in Kiswahili, mjakwa chembe si mkulima. So we are hoping and praying that this again is going to help our people to be able to be more creative in actually expanding their abilities and their resources, and particularly the farmers. Because one is that if this market, for example, in Trans Nzoia, is completed on time, of course there will be people who will be not be coming to me for handouts and what have you. That would be just be able to assist them in whatever they need. But I think this is a very important, and I want this to be passed as soon as possible for the benefit of our counties. I know for sure, it's also mentioned, and I quite agree with the move of this motion, there are people who are not being paid. I had a case where 3 boys last weekend, after attending some serious funeral, they came to my residence and were saying, we have not been paid for the last 6 months. I couldn't believe. But it's true because, of course, the county government is not able to expand. It's not going to be able to create more jobs and get the revenue for whatever they are. So it's important that actually we pass this bill very fast so they can be able to assist the county government to be able to meet their obligations in terms of paying the salaries and other obligations. And of course, as mentioned by the previous speaker, even the county hospitals. And again, I can also refer to my own county. Doctors and even nurses and the workers are threatening to go on strike. Not for anything else, but because that the source of their incomes have not been very, very good, have not been improved. So I think as we actually give additional money, allocation, as we are going to do, I think this particular one will be able to assist I hope the governors are serious. I'm not pointing to any particular person, but let's be serious so they can use this opportunity, these funds, to be able to create more opportunities and be able to have more incomes at least so they can be able to pay for some of these nurses and workers of the hospitals, referral hospitals that actually are threatening to go on strike. More so, of course, the outstanding bills. I know water, for example, in my place, the county government has not been able to pay the bills that actually, like water bills. You know, they get the water from elsewhere, and they are not able to pay the water bills just because, of course, there's no creation, there's no expansion of their activities in the county. I want to thank this, let's pass this as soon as possible so that can be able to meet the obligation out there. But again, my request, and I think our colleagues as governors and with the MCS, please let them be able to do without actually getting corruption in this particular activity. And therefore, I think this bill should be passed yesterday so can be able to meet some of the application in the county. I support the Speaker.
The Honorable Owen Baya.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to the County Government's Additional Allocation Bill of the National Assembly Bill to second of 2025. Honorable Speaker, this is a very important piece of legislation because we must, as a parliament and as a country, enable counties to operate. And counties must operate only when they have funds. Honorable Speaker, counties cannot operate if they do not have funds. And the functions that have been devolved to the counties must have funds for them to be operational. Honorable Speaker, the Constitution is very clear that functions follow funds, or funds follow functions. That's a very important maxim, Honorable Speaker, to ensure the success of counties. And that's why, Honorable Speaker, Parliament as a tradition must table the additional allocation fund. Honorable Speaker, you realize that in this budget, in this County Government Additional Allocations Bill 2025, we are talking about 6.99 billion shillings. Quite some money that must go to ensure that certain projects are done. Honorable Speaker, from the outset, this government initiated the county aggregation industrial parks, the KIPES, which are very important to ensure that we bring manufacturing to the counties, that every county must have a county aggregation or industrial park, a park that will ensure industrialization of the counties such that the produce that comes from the farms of these counties are processed in these industrial parks. Honorable Speaker, 250 million was set per county. And this amount of money needed to be utilized to ensure that we have built this county aggregation that are going to ensure a takeoff, Honorable Speaker. And this bill now allocates that additional funds, the 250 KIPE. Honorable Speaker, the counties benefiting from this initiative include the county of Bungoma, the county of Busia, where my friend Professor Oundo comes from, and he'll be a beneficiary of the KIPE's money. And I can see, and the Honorable Women Rep of Busia, the gallant lady, the fighter, Omanyo, definitely you have to support this bill because you are getting 250 million shillings to set up KIPE. And tell the governor there, we are sending him money, let him ensure the KIPE is done so that the people of Busia can have an industrial park that they can be proud of and that they have money to ensure that is done. Honorable Speaker, other counties, notable counties, Honorable Speaker, apart from Busia, include Homa Bay, Garissa, Embu, Kiambu, Kirinyaga, Kwale. Yes.
Honorable Undo, who do you want to inform? And is he willing to be informed?
Yes, he's my...
Proceed, Honorable Undo.
I can always be informed by a professor.
My good friend, Honorable Speaker, just to put into perspective clearly on my issue of KIPE, because I sit in the Committee of Trade Industry and Cooperative, where it's domiciled, each county was to receive 250 million from the national government. They were supposed to put in around 250 million plus the land. So initially, the idea was to do the entire 47 counties, but because of the slow absorption and identification of the right sites, we have only managed to fund 18 of them. And out of those 18, for some of them, what is contained here is the second tranche. We'd already given them one something. So this is literally the second tranche so that the national government would have discharged its obligation so that the county government now can take over and complete. Some at a different stage of completion, and we thank the Almighty God that Busia is one of them.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the information, Professor. You know, when you're informed by a professor, you get more enlightened. Actually, Honorable Speaker, the counties were selected based on the progress made towards project completion. And Honorable Speaker, this brings me to the very important point. Some counties have this KIPE money, but they have not done anything yet. And you can see, Honorable Speaker, just a few counties have. Many counties have not done anything. Based on this document, Honorable Speaker, priority is being given to those that already have started. And there are counties that have not started. This is a very important program. And I want to urge counties that have not started to facilitate or to put money in KIPES to do so. I do not know whether the county of my friend Elisha has actually started this work, Honorable Speaker. But of course, it's important that the county. Honorable Speaker, again, these additional funds will go to the CHPs. When you go, Honorable Speaker, to the ground, I was in the ground yesterday. I spent a lot of my time in my constituency, all the 7 wards of my constituency. And one of the things that these CHPs, the community health promoters, are crying is that national government has given them their money, but county governments have not paid CHPs. CHPs are important link for the success of SHA and SHIF. They're very important links. But if we do not pay the CHPs, Honorable Speaker, we're going to have a problem. Therefore, I urge us to support this bill. It passes and it goes out there so that the CHPs in our counties that are operating all over the counties, the community health promoters, very important people. They spend a lot of time working for the community, but they don't get paid, Honorable Speaker, because counties have not paid. I know the national government has given some money, but the county governments have not given some money. Honorable Speaker, it is important we pass this bill to give counties money so that they can pay CHPs. The CHPs out there, I want to urge them, and I want them to listen to this, that as a government and as Parliament, we are keen to ensure that they get their monthly stipends that they are being given. In fact, I want to advocate for them to get even higher parts so that they are able to take care of this very important docket, Honorable Speaker. So in passing this bill, Honorable Speaker, we are actually aiding in helping to ensure that CHPs have resources. And Honorable Speaker, if you look at this, we have 3.24 billion, 234 billion shared among the 47 counties for CHPs, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, this is a very important piece of legislation so that the people of Homa Bay County, the CHPs in Homa Bay County, have money. They should not just be working and walking in the sun and the mud and not giving them any money. Honorable Speaker, CHPs are very important and we must support them by ensuring that they have money to ensure that they do the work properly. Honorable Speaker, another important thing that we must support in this additional allocation is the unconditional additional allocation for court fines. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, you realize this, the CJ said, the Chief Justice said the other day, that within a very short time, when the small claims court was set up, a lot of money was collected, and people, there's a lot of activity, the small claims court. I can't remember the figure actually, what the CJ said, but a lot of money actually, and a lot of claims were settled. And therefore it is very important that, Honorable Speaker, that this bill's second schedule allocates Kenya shillings 116 million for court fines from county legislation violations, benefiting counties including Murang'a, which has collected 70.74 million, Machakos, which has collected 16.05 million, Mombasa, which has collected 13.42 million, Kiambu has collected 10.78 million, among others. But this money, Honorable Speaker, cannot be transferred from the courts to now the counties, to the accounts of the counties, Honorable Speaker. But if we pass this bill, Honorable Speaker, these counties which has this money can actually be able to use it, Honorable Speaker. And this is very important. Therefore, passing this bill, Honorable Speaker, helps us to disburse the money that has been collected as fines to get into the counties so the counties can do projects. The transfer of court fines to the respective county government has faced challenges, Honorable Speaker, due to the lack of a framework for the collection and transfer of the same. And therefore, currently, the law requires that all revenue collected by the judiciary be sent to the consolidated fund, Honorable Speaker. And if we do not have a law, these funds cannot be transferred to the counties. Honorable Speaker, please add me like 3 minutes because you can see my flow of thoughts is on high gear.
No, we are adding you 1 minute.
No, 3 will be good. I know you're a good man, Mr. Speaker, and you'll actually do that. Honorable Speaker, there are certain important things. You see, we have seen many county government health workers running around and they are protesting and all that because they want arrears to be paid to them. But you see, Honorable Speaker, there is no framework for paying these arrears. But this County Additional Allocation Fund bill actually does that. You have seen protests here in front of Parliament. They want their arrears. They want their money to be paid. But the most important, the elephant in the room, Honorable Speaker, is that there is no framework to disburse the arrears to these workers. And I want to assure the health workers in the counties that when we pass this bill, their arrears will be paid because this is the framework that is required to ensure that we pay the arrears. So I want to tell them to hold their horse. This Parliament will ensure this bill is passed, and when this bill is passed, the basic salary arrears for the county health workers will be paid, Honorable Speaker. And it is quite a colossal amount of money. It is 1.759 billion shillings. And this money will be paid, Honorable Speaker, if we pass this bill. And I want to request members of this House to ensure that we facilitate and pay the arrears. Honorable Speaker, you can see in the schedule, the amount is shared among 10 counties where fines was collected. Not that piece, because I've done that. I've done already that piece. Honorable Speaker, there is also funds from development partners, funded projects. Now, this amounts to around 33 billion shillings. That is there. But it cannot be spent because we do not have a framework, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, the funds that comes from IDA, Emergency Locust Response, money for IDA, Kenya Informal Settlement, the KISI Program 1, the money for financing locally led climate action program, the FLOCA. The FLOCA is a very popular project, I know, in my county. But now they cannot use the money because there's no framework for it. But if we pass this, Honorable Speaker, the Kenya Urban Support Project, Urban Development Grants, all these amounts of money, Honorable Speaker, available from DANITA, from AFD, all this money needs to be swept and given to the counties so that all this noise that we hear, people are not being paid for this project is stalled, this project is not moving forward, Honorable Speaker, is available. And lastly, Honorable Speaker, as we disperse these funds through this county additional allocations bill, Honorable Speaker, I would like to request county governors that have been given this money to do a good job and ensure proper utilization of this money so that this money that we are disbursing from this House is useful to the people, helps in the development, and to further the devolution spirit that was pushed by the leader of ODM and Honorable Raila Odinga, for which my friend Oundo here is very passionate about. Now,
yes, the Honorable Martin Owino, MP Ndiwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this bill wholeheartedly. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Baya has made a lot of comments here which are very factual and very important. But it really makes us unhappy if we have the money even from development partners in billions, in fact 33 billion, he says is correct, and cannot just be dispersed to rural folks to use because of lack of infrastructure. And I was asking Dr. Nyikali, we used to have these monies from SIDA, DANIDA, all those taken to the counties. Why do we have a delay on this? And the effect is enormous. For example, Mr. Speaker, if you look at the community health workers, which I champion for, and I know why. Because of early detection of diseases so that they can be cured, they be treated well, on time, without paralyzing the system in the villages. Early detection diseases are done by community health promoters, and that has been proven. That is much cheaper than dealing with progressed and full-blown diseases in tertiary care. And these are arrears, and their allowances held here. Mr. Speaker, there's no one who can do work without compensation. These people pay for school fees, they pay for the upkeep of their families and all that. But more intriguing, Mr. Speaker, is that when these funds are held here, there are so many things that's happening. One, they are not just grants and shares from the national government. Some of these are loans, meaning we are paying for loans which are held here and are not doing the work at the rural settings. Some of these monies which are held here, Mr. Speaker, are also salary arrears for health workers. So it appears to me, members, that we are shooting ourselves in the foot. At one point, we are giving the hospitals, especially level 6 and 5, the budget to deal with the conditions which we ought to have even prevented at the primary health care. Money from Danida and all that category are supposed to improve primary health care. Now we are having them here. So as a result, we will have progressed conditions which unnecessarily should have been allowed to do that. Some of the monies are also for climate resilience, agriculture, food systems resilience, which can make also the rural economy become more vibrant. They are held here. As a result, when this is not acted quickly, Mr. Speaker, and I urge members to do so, what will happen is that we are killing the rural economies, we are interfering with the health of our people, and also we are interfering with businesses, because some of these development partners are supporting small business scale. Mr. Speaker, we are also interfering with equity and equality, which is distancing itself as the time goes. There are so many people who are sinking into poverty, and a few who are opulently living are at the top of the helm. So, Mr. Speaker, as a House, I think it was wrong for the other institutions like the Senate and the COG to demand that this bill be that their 10 billion bill be added into this in order to pass. That does not make sense to me. It appears that they are also shooting themselves in the foot. Why don't we just pass this bill, release the money, and fight other fights, not with the money that is holding the lives of people? So I urge members, because I feel the necessity and the urgency of this money to be released, to pass this as soon as possible. I thank you for the time, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable James Jika, you are on my list here. You speaking on this?
Can I have them? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I arise to support this bill. And Mr. Speaker, what bothers me is that this is a bill actually for the 2024-25. It's the funds that should have long been used, and we are still discussing them. And the people they were supposed to serve actually have not been served. The jobs they were supposed to do have not been done. And Mr. Speaker, my concern is the perpetual adversarial relationship between the counties and the national government. When devolution came, Mr. Speaker, I don't think the idea was to actually build territories. The idea was actually to get monies to flow to the counties. It's a good idea because it has made equity much easier. And it really does not matter to the people that are being served where the resources come from. And I think as leaders we should realize this. When we are having territorial differences and thinking this should be that, should this, that, the people are just, if it is water, they're just looking for water. They don't want to know whether the water is from the national government or the water is from the county government. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I think that this should not be happening every year. The relationship actually, the law provided, Article 187 of the Constitution provided how this should be done. The Intergovernmental Relations and Technical Committee provided how there should be a relationship, even between policies, even between programs at the county and the national level. And so when it comes to just distributing money so that we give additional money to the counties, why should we have a difference? I will agree with my colleague, Honorable Martin, that if you have other things that we should we differ on. I think we should let the money go and serve the people, and we go on. And I think it is time that we actually relooked at our structures. Are we adhering to them, or we are actually just using them as obstacles to service to the people? If you look in these particular instances, the programs that are actually being delayed, the arrears for the agreements during the strikes of the health workers is that money that we should actually be questioning. That money should have gone, and people should have been paid to the counties if they're working the counties, and they should be paid, because what was agreed, that the bargaining agreement was that the national government should pay, and we agreed that they should pay, and that was what was part of the return to work formula. I think, Mr. Speaker, you yourself, you are more versed in these things. Why we delay these things, I do not know. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the issue of community health workers, these people were putting more and more loads on them. You go into the rural areas, you are finding that we are putting more equipment with them. Now we are asking them to take blood pressures, we are asking them to help diabetics. We are putting more and more load on them. But when the time comes to pay them, even now, Mr. Speaker, I'm not satisfied with the payment structure for the community health promoters. Even the change of name from community health workers, community health volunteers, are now community health it shows that deep inside, we really don't want to acknowledge these people as health workers. Now they are calling them promoters. And now, part of the money is being paid by the county government, part of the money is being paid by the national government, and that is why this money has to move. We actually need to get a clear structure. To me, get all that money and put it to the counties and let those people be paid. People are best paid where they work. Money should come through the supervisors that they know. You can't be working in one level and your money is coming from another level. If there is delay, you do not even know how to follow up that money. So I think these are things we should do. And as we know, there are a lot of funds that comes to us through grants and loans from partners, international partners. Mr. Speaker, those monies are being given to Kenyans, and Kenyans live in the counties. They are I don't know Kenyans that live at national level, I don't know where they are. So if the monies come through, in fact, we should have more programs at the county levels. So if the grant and loans are to move from partners are to move to the counties, is that something we should still have arguments about? And even where the proceeds are from activities that have taken part in the counties, like the courts, when the proceeds of court fines come and it's agreed that they should actually be shared, those are things that once we put the law, if we feel the law is not as good as we want it, let it pass 1 year, and the next year we can always amend the law. We can always look at it. But we cannot hold services that we want a perfect law. For me, Mr. Speaker, we should be more focused on getting the services to our people at the counties. Whatever money we get that should go to the counties, they should go. Arguments should come later. With that, Mr. Speaker, I support this bill.
The Honorable Phyllis Barto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to put my voice and support this county government additional allocation bill, National Assembly number 2, 2025. Mr. Speaker, we started devolution and we cannot strangle it so that it is not able to serve the people. Mr. Speaker, county governments play a very important role in our economy and to the people of Kenya. And when the county governments are not well resourced, it is the same people we are serving who become disadvantaged. Mr. Speaker, a case in point is my county, the county of Uasin Gishu. And I empathize and sympathize with my governor, Jonathan B. or Elias Kotimoja. Because, Mr. Speaker, because of the scarcity of resources in the county government, the governor has been reduced to playing very minor roles in the county, which I don't want to mention, because he is not resourced, he doesn't have money to run the activities of the county. Mr. Speaker, case in point is the road infrastructure, which, in fact, at this time of the year in Uasin Gishu, it is raining. And the county roads are in very bad condition. The machines which have been purchased are just idle because there is no fuel. The county cannot fuel those machines so that the roads are improved. The road network is improved. So, Mr. Speaker, this bill is very important and it should be dealt with the urgency it deserves so that our counties can continue being operational. Mr. Speaker, a case in point is also the promoters, the health promoters. They are supposed to be given a small figure of 5,000, very little amount of money, which is not even enough. And yet they are not getting it because there is no money in our counties. And Mr. Speaker, we are giving them a lot of additional work. For instance, they are supposed to be registering SHA. They are supposed to be sensitizing communities in a matter SHA. Yet they do it. They do it very diligently. But at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, they don't have anything to take home. Mr. Speaker, if we are supposed to make this SHA functional, this money should be released to the county so that they can run. Our hospitals, Mr. Speaker, there is no medication. In fact, as I was coming to Parliament a few minutes ago, I met a group of health workers demonstrating in the streets. This is a clear indication that our county governments are not working. They are not operating because they don't have resources. And at the same time, in fact, the little resources which they have are to use it to support other services because they are not enough. Mr. Speaker, the issue of fertilizer, which is very key at the moment, especially during the planting season, was devolved to counties. They are supposed to do the last mile, where they distribute the fertilizer from the National Cereals Board to the different cooperative societies which are in the counties or in the wards. But unfortunately, the county government is not able to do that. If you go to Uasin Gishu now to the National Cereals Board stores, you will find farmers struggling, haggling for the fertilizer because the county is not able to transport it from the centers, from the cereal boards to the cooperative societies in the regions because they don't have resources. Mr. Speaker, if this devolution was supposed to make life easy for our citizens, then we had better disperse this money so that the common mwananchi can at least feel that something called devolution was done. Mr. Speaker, if there is any problem, if there is an obstacle in the disbursement of this money, then it should be eased out so that the members of our communities can benefit. If Senate is the problem, for instance, if Senate wants anything, any funding through this bill, they had better wait so that this one is dispensed with quickly, because at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, we all serve the same Mwananchi. The Mwananchi who elected the senator is the same Mwananchi who elected the governor, is the same Mwananchi who elected the member of parliament, is the same Mwananchi who elected the member of county assembly. So let us put our differences aside and look at what benefits the Mwananchi directly. Let us sort other issues elsewhere or independently, and don't put obstacles that make the lives of our citizens difficult. Because, for example, the county industrial parks, what are referred to as KIPes, Mr. Speaker, in my county, the county of Uasin Gishu, specifically even in my own constituency, Muiben constituency, we launched one, or we did the groundbreaking of one, and we were so excited that it was going to bring a lot of value to the lives of the farmers, to the lives of Mwamamboga, to the lives of everybody who was in Muiben when we were groundbreaking that day. But Mr. Speaker, this is 2 years down the line. The building is just a sorry state of itself because there is no work going on, because there is no money. So how I wish these resources are fast-tracked so that we have the completion rate of all these projects which have been commissioned can be achieved. Because once they are not completed on time, there is also the cost element, there is the legal aspect, because a contractor will not just sit and wait for a decision to be done so that they are paid. People work on timelines, and when they are not paid, they will go to court. The court will give them FT awards, and who bears the burden? It is still the county government, it is still the government of Kenya. So, Mr. Speaker, how I pray that we pass this bill, which will make sure that the money goes express to the county government, and the county government can serve the people of Kenya. What we would only wish is that let the money do what is, go and serve the people for the purpose in which it was intended. Let us not have a scenario where the allocations are dispersed and then the resources are diverted to the purposes which were not intended. Up to there, Mr. Speaker, I support this bill wholeheartedly, and I hope and I wish that it is fast-tracked so that very soon, our county governments, the governors will be up running and serving the people of Kenya. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable John Waluke.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me a chance also to speak on this important bill. Honorable Speaker, I am different from many or few of us. Honorable Speaker, unless we put the structure correct about these monies going to the counties. Honorable Speaker, some of the counties are doing well, and some of the counties are just swindling the money. So, Honorable Speaker, if we are all supporting that the money should go to the county governments, that there's no work going on in the counties, it is because we have not put the structure properly, like CDF monies. The structure is there. The money goes to the constituencies, and then it is seen working, Honorable Speaker. But not like this one. Honorable Speaker, I invite you to my constituency one time. Since devolution, there is nothing, even a bottle of water like this, in my constituency from the county government. And I always wonder, and we get almost 13 billion annually, Honorable Speaker, and there's nothing that has You cannot talk of anything from the county government. Honorable Speaker, about the Agriculture and Industrial Pact, it is only Busia County which I visited, and maybe, Honorable Speaker, you are also there. I saw that, and I'm impressed with the Busia County, Honorable Speaker, with the work Busia County is doing. Even the president was amused when we all saw the structures of the industrial park, what is going on in Busia, and it was given the same amount the same day with my county, Bungoma County. And Bungoma, there is nothing. And even the PS, Dr. Mwana was wondering that I gave the money the same day, and here the work is seen. It is almost complete. The roads, tarmacked everywhere, to show that Busia County is working, is serious. So, Honorable Speaker, some counties are just there to steal. So let's put the structures in place before we release the money to the county. And if they can ask, Honorable Speaker, maybe we give to those counties that are doing better, like Busia and the others, like Mandera County, Honorable Speaker, where the governor saw that the money was just there, he has not used it enough, he had to return it to the treasury because he is honest. Honorable Speaker, for many years, Honorable Speaker, governors have let us down in many aspects. We are talking of CHB, crying for salaries not paid, and it is true, Honorable Speaker. But it's a time, Honorable Speaker, even constituencies, us, the president made sure that he cleared all the balances that we were demanding as constituencies. He made sure that all the counties were given all their monies. And after a week or so, you'll just see them on the TVs complaining that there's no money. Where does the money go to? So it is high time, Honorable Speaker, we are not just here as a voting machine, and we need to be honest to the people, even if they suffer. But we want to see, we want the truth, we want honesty, we want the money to be used properly to those people, to wananchi. Even if you go to the counties, some counties like mine, they will tell you that, no, the money is badly being used. So let's be open, let's be candid, let's be bold to say, to speak what is wrong. We must say that it is wrong. Honorable Speaker, thank you.
The Honorable Japheth Nyakundi, Member of Parliament, Kitutu. Give him the mic. Any mic around? Yes, you can use that one.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also put my word on the county government additional allocation bill, which I believe is a very, very important bill to the people of Kenya and more especially to the county governments, because our county governments play a very crucial and critical role in making sure that our people back at home get the services that they require. When this constitution was passed in 2010 to bring up the county governments, these county governments were brought up to ensure that they get services to our people. This bill, therefore, is important, Mr. Speaker, sir, because there is some money lying somewhere, and there are people back at home who are to receive this money to get services, but they are not getting them because the money is lying here. Mr. Speaker, what has touched me so much about this bill is money that is meant for the CHPs is in this bill. In December, I had a meeting with CHPs from my constituency, and to some point, they were very happy with the national government because the national government tends to release the money for the CHPs in time, but at that particular time, there was a backlog of the money that was meant for CHPs of about 8 months from the county government. So this bill is important because I believe these CHPs need this money because they play a critical role, more especially at this particular time, because of the registration that they are doing for SHA and SHIF, which now we call it Taifa Care, which is very critical for the people of Kenya. And this is one of the 5 pillars of President William Ruto, which is very critical. Since time immemorial, there is no such huge thing like the Taifa Care that is ongoing that has ever been passed. This is the first time, and it has come through during this period of President William Ruto, and I believe it will be able to succeed despite having some teething problems. It is normal to have teething problems, but I believe this SHA and SHIF is good for our people. And by paying the CHPs, it is important because these CHPs are the ones who are the roadmap towards making sure that the Taifa Care is a story to tell in future or it succeeds. Number 2, we have seen there is a lot of money that the donors have given out, but on our side of bargain, this donor money needs to be matched up with some money from the national government. And a lot of money is here lying, like money from KISIP, which is the Kenya Informal Improvement Project, money from Kenya Urban Support Project, money for Water Sanitation and Development Project, which, as we know, water is a devolved function. Like the other day in my brother, Honorable Silvano Osoro, there was a problem. People were infected because of drinking contaminated water. Therefore, I ask the county governments, when you receive this money, make sure that you use this money in a good and proper manner. Because if we had good, clean water in South Mogirango, right now, we couldn't be having the issues that we are having there. Many people were infected, many people, the water contaminated and made sure that affected so many people. It was a sad incident. It was one of the incidents that we've never seen in Kisii for the first time. So therefore, we call about the county governments to ensure that when they receive this money, they make sure that this money is used in a good and a proper manner. I have seen other people enjoying saying that in their counties they are receiving money for the aggregation centers or the Skypes. These aggregation centers are very good for making sure that, one, it creates employment. Number 2, farmers are able to make sure that their goods and commodities are able to be brought in one place and sold, and even done some value addition. I have seen so many counties here, about 18 counties that are going to receive the money. but I am devastated because the county where I come from is not going to receive the money because the contractor or the county government has not made sure that the project is ongoing. The project is stalled, and that is why they have not been given the money, or they are not receiving the money. So we call upon the county government to ensure that when they receive money from the national government, and I want to thank the national government because nowadays these county governments receive money on time. The problem is that we have some governors who are very incompetent, who are not making sure that the money we receive is not used in a good and proper manner. We want to call upon the county governments to ensure that any money they receive from the national government goes into making sure that the services that Mwananchi need back at home are gotten. We are seeing like right now they want money that is meant for RMLF for our roads in Kera. They want the 10 billion to go to the county government. And as we speak, the money they receive for the roads they have not even used that money to make sure that our roads are okay. The roads are impassable. The roads are pathetic, and they want more money. I don't know why they want more money, and the money that they have not even used it. They even don't have enough personnel. They don't have enough engineers like the Kenya rural roads have in making sure that they supervise the roads that are being done by Kera. And if you go home, back at home right now, you can clearly identify a road that is done by Kera because their roads are done in a good and a proper manner compared to the county roads, which engineers who are doing them are very incompetent. The people who are doing them are very incompetent. And even some of these roads, we cannot see them. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to support this county allocation bill because I believe that counties are important and they play a vital role in making sure that Mwananchi gets services. As the National Assembly, the Senate, we will make sure that we support the counties. But as we support the counties, there is a rider. Make sure that the money that we give you is used in a good, proper manner. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I submit.
Great. Is the Honorable Geoffrey Mwangi Tetu in the House? Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to also lend my voice to this debate. And Mr. Speaker, to start, I fully support this bill, the 2025 County Government Additional Allocations Bill. But Mr. Speaker, I would like to first point out that this is the House that is going to protect devolution. This House and the House of Senate. And it is our primary mandate to protect devolution. This week, Mr. Speaker, we saw an MOU being signed that purported to protect devolution, yet that is a responsibility of this House. But be it that as it may be, there is need to ensure, Mr. Speaker, that first of all, we devolve all the functions that was put in the schedule of devolution in our Constitution, and this includes health, which, Mr. Speaker, up to today we know the bulk of the money for health still sits at Afya House, at the north with our county governments who are in charge of healthcare. The money for agriculture still sits at Kilimo House. The government is still in the business of fertilizer, an item that should be going to the county government. The government has recently engaged in the business of housing, which again, it is clearly a devolved function. So, Mr. Speaker, I urge this House first and foremost to ensure that we protect devolution from the excesses of the executive that we have continued seeing from time to time. Mr. Speaker, our healthcare workers are on strike. And it is very important that then we release this money very, very quickly. It is also sad that our health, community health promoters have literally two employers. Some money comes from the national government, some money comes from the county government. And I think when you have two employers and there may not be any synchronization as to when the salaries come, you find they have been paid some half of the money, the other half is being waited. How can we ensure that this money is put maybe at the beginning of the year for community health workers and synchronized and paid at the same time? So we urge Treasury to ensure that these funds are released in time. However, Mr. Speaker, our governors and our county governments cannot escape blame. I think despite us being proponents and disciples of devolution, they have at times made devolution look like it was a sham or like it was a myth because of some of the things that we keep seeing in our counties, Mr. Speaker. The biggest item being corruption and wastage and plunder of public resources within our counties. Mr. Speaker, this is something that Senate and this House, we have to keep looking for additional measures. And we also want to urge the Auditor General and also ask the various government arms of government that are concerned with fighting corruption to refocus, to put very sharp focus on our counties, which have now become, the headquarters of corruption. Actually, the joke in this country is that the only thing we successfully did was to devolve corruption. So, Mr. Speaker, that is something we must address.